This podcast is sponsored by the Fireman Moving Company. The Fireman Moving Company is the official moving company of WKU Athletics. Not only can they be trusted to move all the coaches in and out of Western, but they can move you anywhere nationwide. The Fireman Moving Company is owned and operated by firemen and is founded by WKU alumni. If you are looking to move sometime soon, give them a call at 270-791-1755 and get yourself a free quote.
Welcome to Topper Talk, your number one Western Kentucky athletics podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Moffitt, and I'm joined by co-host Tyler Bailey. Hilltopper Nation, whether it's happening on the hill or on the road, grab those red towels, stand up and cheer, because it's up next on Topper Talk.
Welcome back, and thank you for downloading and listening to another episode of the Topper Talk podcast. We are your number one source for WKU sports news and information. We're also the only year-round WKU podcast, and we're the only WKU podcast that covers every sport and every athlete at WKU. We're also a proud member of the College Huddle podcast community. Make sure you're following us on all of our social media platforms. I especially would recommend Twitter or X. That's where you're going to get our most frequent updates, kind of live as they happen. You'll keeping up with that through the day, through the week. Make sure you head on over to our YouTube channel, subscribe over there. Every episode we put out also has a video version. If you'd like to see that, just subscribe and get notified whenever those drop. Got Tyler here with me, man. We've got a quick turnaround, but another episode to dive into, man. You ready?
Yeah, man. Another week, another game. Let's go.
But before we jump into a Missouri State preview, we have to dive into quite possibly the shortest Red Towel wrap-up we've ever done, as it's only been 24 hours since we last recorded. So, Tyler, hit us with that Red Towel wrap-up.
All right, so you're right. Short one, WKU Soccer's Georgia Liapis was named Conference USA Offensive Player of the Week.
Yeah, awesome recognition for Georgia. She scored her 5th goal of the season in our Conference USA opening victory against Kennesaw State. Help propel us to 1-0 in Conference USA play. We talked about that on yesterday's episode, and then she got recognized as the Offensive Player of the Week for Conference USA this week. So obviously we're going to talk about that and celebrate that. So big congratulations to Georgia, and hopefully that continues and the soccer program just keeps on winning.
And that wraps up this episode, this week's Red Towel wrap-up. Moff, I'm going to hand it off back to you.
Yeah, short and sweet, nothing but good news. I love to hear it. But yeah, we have a Missouri State game preview to dive into. That game is this upcoming Saturday. It's on September 27th. It is at Robert Plaster Stadium in Springfield, Missouri. The game kicks off at 6 p.m., and the game will be on ESPN+. WKU enters the game with a 3-1 overall record, most recently coming off a 31-16 victory over Nevada that we just recapped last night. While Missouri State is coming in at 2-2 overall. They have a win most recently over UT Martin this past weekend, and they got their first ever FBS victory a couple weeks ago against a familiar foe of ours, the Marshall Thundering Herd. Went into their house, went into their trap, and took over their trap for that first ever FBS victory. They've also played a couple tough games. They opened the season at USC, Southern California, and they hosted SMU for their first ever FBS home game. So they've had a pretty good schedule to this point in the season, and be 2-2 as a newcomer to FBS. I think that's very commendable for them early in their first season. Now, Missouri State is led by head coach Ryan Beard. He is in his 3rd season as the head coach, and he has an overall record of 14 wins and 13 losses, including a record of 8-4 last season in 2024. Now, Ryan Beard should be a name that sounds really familiar to a lot of Bowling Green people, WKU fans in general. He is a Bowling Green native. He played at and graduated from Bowling Green High School. He played football for Western Kentucky. He was a defensive back from 2007 to 2011. And then he also was on staff from 2012 and 13, and then again in 2016. and he is far from the only staff connection uh, with connections to WKU. Offensive coordinator Nick Petrino's been on staff here at Western before. Former running back Ace Wells is the running back coach there at Missouri State. Max Halpin is the offensive line coach. He was an offensive lineman here. Drew Zabi was a quarterback here. LD Scott has been on staff here. Chris Franklin. And of course, can't forget their athletic director, Patrick Ransdale, son of the GOAT, Gary, played baseball here as well, is leading their athletic programs over there at Missouri State. So, man, there is just a lot of connection between these two schools, these two programs. There's a lot of familiarity between our staffs. And it's really more than anything, it's just a cool talking point for fans and media. The players have to play, the coaches have to put those players in position to succeed and win the game. But it is just neat to talk about leading up to the game. And, heard Coach Helton talk about it in his media availability on Monday. Heard Coach Beard talk about it in his media availability earlier this week. It's just a talking point, but it's just a pretty neat little factoid that we had to talk about just really quickly. This will be the 7th all-time meeting between the schools. WKU does hold a 6-0 series lead all time from their time together in the Gateway Conference from 2001 to 2006. WKU is currently a 4.5 point betting favorite with an over-under of 61.5 if you're into that sort of thing. The ESPN matchup predictor gives WKU a 55.5% chance of winning this road game. So that's dang near a coin flip. That's on the road. To be favored on the road is one thing, but it's still a close spread, 4.5 points, and then just a little over 50% chance of winning this game. So Tyler, give me the 30,000-foot view of this game. Just how does it look coming into it, and how are you feeling about the game?
Well, you mentioned we're 6-0 against them, and the last 4 meetings have been decided by less than 10 points. I'm sure, I don't know if Vegas is looking into that or not, but I feel like this will be I feel like this is going to be a good game for Western. You look at Missouri State's numbers, stat wise, they give up a lot of yardage, and I feel like our offense is going to be well equipped to get in there, and I feel like our defense may have a break this week against maybe we won't be facing as mobile of a quarterback. So I feel like this is going to be a good game for Western to win.
Yeah, it should be a good one. I think there's really a lot of similarities in these two programs and how they're coached and how well they are coached. Not just how they're coached, but how well they're coached. And just looking at some of the players, starting on their offensive side, another similarity is their quarterback. They have a 7th-year quarterback, just like we do in Maverick MacGyver. They have Jacob Clark, who is number 12 on the roster. He's a 7th-year senior. He's a 6'5", 220-pound quarterback. Like you said, he's more of a pocket passer guy. He wants to stand back there and command and lead this offense. He's really comfortable and really good in that system. Decide to stick around. Probably could have went elsewhere, moving up to the FBS with Missouri State, but decided to stick with Ryan Beard. And has had a couple good seasons. And so far, having a good season this year. I wouldn't say it's a bad season, but looking at his stats, he's 80 out of 120 on his passing attempts, good for 66.6% completion percentage. He has 1,052 passing yards. He has 8 passing touchdowns and 6 interceptions. So a little bit loose with the ball, compared to Maverick. I think Maverick is 10 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, just off the top of my head. Looking at their leading rusher, it is running back Shamari Lawrence. He's number 2 on the roster. He is 6 foot, 210 pounds. He is a 6-year senior. He is a transfer from FIU, so he's also familiar with the WKU program from his time there, and going to get reacquainted this coming Saturday. Looking at this season's stats, he has 50 carries on the season for 208 yards and 1 touchdown. Yeah, I mean, he's a good back, but he's not somebody that they're leaning on a ton. So looking forward to seeing how that plays out. Then their leading receiver is Dash Luke. He is number 1 on the roster. He's a 5'8", 175-pound senior. This season, he has 19 receptions for 239 yards and 2 touchdowns. All of those stats, receptions, yards, and touchdowns, leads the team for Missouri State. And then looking at them offensively as a whole, Missouri State is averaging 21.5 points per game. And then looking at their yardage, how they like to accumulate those yards and points, they're averaging 277 passing yards per game, 84 rushing yards per game, which is, like you mentioned earlier, it kind of feels like we faced these run heavy teams. Sam Houston wanted to run the ball, had a mobile quarterback. North Alabama wanted to run the ball a little bit more, was a mobile quarterback. Nevada, mobile quarterback. Toledo ran all over us. Good rushing attack, good offensive line. It feels like this game is going to be a lot different in the way that they want to approach it. They're going to be more methodical. They're going to want to sit back, drop back, and pass the ball, and kind of sprinkle in the run. Kind of feels like what we do. We want to sit back and throw the ball around the yard and sprinkle in the run, when it's there for the taking. So, Tyler, how are you feeling about the Missouri State offense, and how is it going to stack up versus our defense?
Well, I think Jacob Clark, I think he's going to be a smart QB. I don't think he's going to. I mean, granted, he does have 6 interceptions, but I feel like he won't intentionally put the ball in a risky situation. But he also does have 2 rushing QBs or 2 rushing touchdowns. He may just got flushed out and he just had to run for his life, and that's what he did. But um, it's kind of crazy how similar our offenses are. But he's also been sacked 18 times. So if I think our defense can easily get back there to Jacob, and put some pressure on him, flush him out, and cause him to maybe throw some interceptions or fumble the ball. But I think our DBs and I think our coverage is going to be key this game, and I think our defense is set up to kind of tee off on this team.
When I look at their stats, and that's why I dove into their points per game and their yards. To me, they're not like air raid, quick tempo team like we are. And I watched a little bit of their game versus Marshall. I watched some of the game versus SMU. I didn't watch their game versus UT Martin when they scored 42 points. I wish I had. But it seems like a low scoring game is going to kind of be more of what they favor. And if we are in a low scoring game, if it's 21-24 or whatever in the fourth quarter, I think that's going to favor them potentially pulling off an upset. They're averaging 21, 20 plus points per game, not quite to 30. About to talk about their defense, what they're allowing, but they're allowing under 20 points per game. Only looking at 3 of their 4 games. I took out the 73 points that were scored by USC. That's an outlier. But just looking at their defense real quick, talking about the players to know. First off is defensive lineman Mitchell Toney. He's number 50 on the roster. He's 6'2", 275 pounds. He is a sophomore. On the season, he has 15 tackles, 9 solo, 2 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. And then linebacker Kanye Young, number 44 on the roster, 6'1", 220 pounds senior, 19 tackles on the season, 12 of those solo, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception. And then lastly, safety McGuire Neal. He's number 0 on the roster. He's a 6'1", 200 pound senior. And then on the season, he has 19 tackles. 10 of those are solo and 1 pass defended. And then looking at their defense as a whole, they have 5 sacks on the season. They have 3 interceptions on the season and 4 forced fumbles. So they do, they're not getting the quarterback a lot, but they are being disruptive. 3 interceptions and 4 forced fumbles through 4 games is pretty disruptive and pretty good. On the season, their defense is allowing 19.33 points per game. And like I said, I took out the USC, the 73 points that they allowed in that game. That's, was their first ever FBS game on the road. I don't think that's indicative of who they are and what they are. That was just a mismatch, and it happened. And one thing I did notice as I've just combing over their team and their stats, their leading tacklers, etc., there wasn't really anyone that jumped out at me tackle wise. Kind of like our team. Every week we talk about who our leading tackler is. Somebody with 8 or 9 tackles. It's not somebody with 10, 11, 12, 15 tackles. I think they had 6 guys that were like 11 and up tackles. It was all just very evenly spread out. A good defense that's not highlighted or anchored or focused on any one person coming and making plays. It was, all these 3 guys that we mentioned, plus several others that I could have mentioned. A couple others with interceptions, a couple others with sacks, a couple others with double digit tackles. It just seems like a really well coached bunch that, again, allowing 19 points per game is pretty good. That'll win you some ball games. Obviously, they need to score a little bit more points than where they're at to remain competitive now that they're getting into Conference USA play. But Tyler, how are you feeling about this defense and how it might match up with our offense?
Well, the defense, it does have some holes in it. They are giving up a roughly around 165 and a half yards rushing per game. So, if they do drop 7, 6, 7, 8 guys into coverage, I feel like our running backs are going to have a field day here. Yeah, I just feel, I feel like our offense is more than capable of handling their defense. That you're right, they are disruptive, and I feel like that could come bite us in the butt. But I mean, we got two interceptions. I'm not sure how many fumbles, but I mean, we typically take good care of the ball unless you just get an interception, then get it knocked away from you like we did last game. But I'll take that. But I feel like WKU's offense, as I said the last few weeks, we got great weapons. We got a smart quarterback. We got smart receivers, and I think our offensive coaches are good enough to easily take care of Missouri State. Now, you did mention the Missouri State could try to slow the game down because they're not that fast-paced air raid offense. Their time of possession averages out to be 32 minutes and 15 seconds per game. I think I looked it up, ours is around like 29 minutes. So I feel like we definitely are more faster paced than Missouri State is. But like I said, I feel like our offense should be able to stack up good against this defense.
Yeah, I really feel like this is going to kind of be a measuring stick game for both programs. One, for Missouri State, obviously being new to Conference USA, being new to the FBS. They want to see how they stack up with, what they were calling us in the Ryan Beard press conference. He said, that's one of the best teams, the elite teams in Conference USA. We're right there, 1, 2, 3 in the league every single year under Coach Helton. He's not wrong. That's kind of what we are. That's what we expect to be. And it also is a measuring stick game for us. I mean, we have been a little bit up and down this season. The wins that we have now are against a 0-4 Sam Houston team who's not very good so far. I think that's safe to say. Hasn't won a game yet. New coaching staff and a lot of new players. A North Alabama team that's obviously FCS. A Nevada team that was picked last in the Mountain West. We needed to win that game. And then a loss to Toledo that was just ugly. We have shown improvement. I think we were better versus Nevada than we were Toledo. We need to show now, are we going to take another step forward as we get into the meat of conference play, especially on the road. Last thing we want to do is get upset at Missouri or upset at Delaware, but both of those are possible. I mean, these are good programs. Missouri State beat Marshall just a couple weeks ago. Granted, Marshall a little bit different place than we are. They also had a lot of roster turnover, new coaching staff. They were figuring things out, and they lost a game, and they were pretty upset about losing to a Conference USA team that was new to FBS. You hate to see it, but you love to see it, But I think this is going to be a good measuring stick game for both teams to figure out where we're at early in conference play. Feels like it's more of a must win for us than it is for them. Obviously, I think we're still in that we control our destiny. We're 1-0 with the win over Sam Houston. We need to win these next couple ball games and get into a bye week and get healthy again before we get into definitely a tougher portion of the schedule going into the midweeks in October. So, Tyler, let's jump into some keys to victory. What do you have for your first key to victory versus Missouri State?
I won't say win the battle in the trenches. Yeah, Missouri State doesn't have that many sacks. I think you said maybe 5 sacks on the season. We need to keep that minimal or none at best. And we need to be able to get off the line and get back into their backfield, and just wreak havoc back there.
One thing I think we need to do and we have to do, and we haven't done it yet this season, is we need to start fast. I'm not sure if we've scored points on our opening possession yet this year. Um, I want to say we punted versus North Alabama, and then they fumbled it. We recovered it. Then we scored. Sam Houston, maybe a field goal to start that game, but I feel like we haven't scored on the opening drive in any game this season. We've started slow. We've started behind. Where we're playing catch up, and that's just not what this offense should be and can be. We've seen adjustments. We've seen us get better and start clicking, as the game has gone on. But I think that's an area of opportunity and definitely an improvement that we need to see. We need to see Maverick, with the keys and just come out hotter. We have plenty of playmakers. We've shown that all season. We've got receivers that can make plays. We've got running backs so we can hand the ball off to and be explosive. So we got to come out the gate quicker. We got to put some points on the board and make this a no doubter and not get into a slugfest late into the game. Tyler, what's your second key to victory for Missouri State?
All right, I swear, y'all, we do not share notes. I was actually thinking about putting this one first. I didn't. Mine was going to say take control early, because you're right. We have kind of started off slow this season. And I mean, honestly, if we don't jump out and get points on the board earlier on, Missouri State, they have the option to really slow this game down, and that only hurts us. Um, so we definitely need to come out, get start fast, put some points on the board, keep our kind of foot on their necks, and let's force them into playing fast and making mistakes. Because if they slow this game down to a crawl, and I think Troy did that a few years ago. Troy did that. I mean, it just took all the momentum away from us, really took away our offense. So definitely come out and take control early.
I think some of the stats we highlighted have shown that Missouri State wants to lean more on long methodical drives, not quick strike scores. They want to be in this 10 and 12 play drive that goes 70 yards and takes a lot of time off the clock and lends itself to a lower scoring ball game. Limits possessions where points are more at a premium, where you've got to score and you've got to take advantage of your possessions. So, I think that being said, we have to get them off the field on third downs. I think it's been every game. It's been a key for me. But when you have a team that wants to have long, sustained drives, they're going to be in third down situations quite often. And how often they convert those is going to lead directly to if they're extending drives and able to go down and score, or if we're getting their offense off the field and putting our offense on the field, which is ultimately what we want to see. We want to give our defense a chance to rest and come back and pin their ears back, get after a quarterback that's been sacked a lot. So I think we have to win that third down battle. We have to get them off the field, not let them have long, sustained drives that are going to wear our defense down, allow them to apply pressure with their running game and their passing game. We just have to do it. And it seems 101. It seems every game that it's something I mention. But I think it's that critical to winning the ball game. What do you got for your third key to victory versus Missouri State?
Limit big chunk plays by Missouri. Because they if they are going to go on some of these drives, they may try to lull us to sleep or lull us into a false sense of security, and then all of a sudden, boom, hit you over the top, and the wide receiver or the running back comes out on a wheel route, and he's gone. So we definitely need to limit that. And Ryan Beard, he's no dummy. He's been around he was around us whenever we were, putting up some big plays and putting up some big numbers. And, that has to be in his vein. So we definitely need to limit that.
Yeah, I think my third one is going to be kind of again another cliche one, another one that's been said before, but we've seen it bite us, so I have to talk about it, and it's winning the turnover battle. We can't come in and we talked about they have several interceptions, they have several forced fumbles. That's a point of emphasis for them. They're not just forcing fumbles on accident. They're punching them out. They're stripping the ball. That's something that they're putting an emphasis on defensively is going after ball carriers that are carrying the ball loose and not having good ball security. So we've got to take care of the ball. Obviously, hopefully, Maverick has learned from another interception that he threw versus Nevada. Great play by Nevada, but obviously an opportunity to throw a better ball there. Maybe look at a different read, and then just ball carriers taking care of the ball, not putting it on the turf. And allowing it to be recovered by the other team. So take care of the football and win that turnover battle. It has to happen, especially on the road. Those momentum swings, you just can't have them. That leads to getting upset, and just can't happen if you want to win that ball game. Tyler, who have you got for your MVT, most valuable topper versus Missouri State?
I feel like in this game, run game could be one of our best friends, especially since they're kind of porous on giving it up. So I'm going to ride with GH3, George Hart's third. That's who I'm going with this week.
I'm going back to the well. I'm going back to Old Faithful. I've not lost faith and hope in him. I think Maverick McIver is going to bounce back from a game that you could easily say, I'm not saying it wasn't his best game, but it just wasn't a typical game from him where he's not throwing 400 yards. He didn't have multiple touchdown passes. He didn't have any touchdown passes. That's odd for him. I think he gets back on the saddle, gunslings, and just shows who he is. The battle is kind of, we could talk about it being a battle of seventh year quarterbacks, a battle of quarterbacks from Texas, guys that are both over 1,000 yards for the season. Those guys are both competitive. They want to come out and outduel the other one. And I like our shot. I think Maverick's going to have a good game, and I think he needs to have a good game and help lead us to victory. That being said, Tyler, the easy part, what is your score prediction and who wins versus Missouri State?
All right, so I've been hitting them kind of high the last few weeks. Highlighted by last week when we said we was going to put up a 50-point on the team, but we didn't. So this week I'm kind of dialing it down just a little bit. I'm going to go 35-17 WKU wins. I'm hitting the under, but not and beating the spread on that one.
35-17. I like it. I'm okay with it. Mine's a little bit higher on both ends. I think it's going to be a little bit higher scoring. I think we're going to crack 40. I think and I think that's mainly going to be because we're going to start faster. We scored 31 last game. We started slow. We had 3 at halftime. So I think we jump out. We have a 42-24 tops win. You win. We lit, baby. That's the over. That's the spread. That's the money line. Tops keep it in the win column. Nice, convincing victory. But I think Missouri State's going to have a good showing. I don't think we're going to blow them out per se. Even though it is an 18-point victory, that's 24 points by them. Maybe it's a late touchdown or 2 by us that puts it away in the fourth quarter. But I think it's going to be a good game overall. I expect it to be competitive. But I just like our chances. I just like our team as a whole. There's opportunities to improve. Yes, absolutely. But I think you can say that about every team in Conference USA. No one has looked unbeatable so far through 5 weeks, 4 games, however many they've played so far. So looking forward to a good game. Hopefully it's a good crowd. I think when I check the weather, looking at like an 80-degree kickoff for the game. So it's going to be nice and warm there with a 6 p.m. kickoff, obviously cooling off as the sun goes down. Hopefully a good crowd there. It seems like they've had good crowds the couple games I've checked in on them. I think it holds 17,000. So hopefully they're in that neighborhood of having a good crowd with a name that a lot of people are familiar with, hopefully in WKU, especially the Missouri State staff that are all secretly WKU fans. I know they're in the closet with all their red shirts. I done told the SSN Missouri State account. Like, man, half your staff is WKU fans. You need to calm down with the trash talking this week. I'll pull out all of them wearing red WKU right now. But I'm looking forward to the game. I think it's another opportunity to have a win. Um, I think a lot of people aren't really pleased with the Nevada win, even though I think it was going to be a tough, gritty game, and it turned out to be a tough, gritty game. I'm of the belief that a win is a win by 1 or 100. I'd rather win ugly than lose pretty, I guess you could say. And we found a way to win that ball game. Now we just need to continue to build on that and get better. A couple road games that are absolutely going to be tough with Missouri State, and then Delaware's been playing some good football as well. They just obliterated FIU last weekend. So looking forward to keeping up with both of the newcomers and seeing how they're doing. We get to run in their trap and hopefully take over their trap. We'll see. Going to be good games, but hopefully we show up. Hopefully we win the ball game and we have a good victory to recap early next week. So Tyler, hit us with your final words and take us on out of here.
Yeah, hopefully this ain't like a few years back when Sam Houston, Liberty, Jack State, and all them other newcomers joined the league, because I think we went 1-3 against the newcomers. So this, next 2 weeks we got them both back to back. But a little interesting to note, Missouri State played SMU. They ended up losing that game, but they did hold SMU to 28 total points. So obviously their defense is there. They held UT Martin to 10. They held Marshall to 20. And also interesting to say, Clark, he had 359 passing yards against Marshall. Do I think we're better than Marshall? Yeah, but it's just kind of funny to me that he had his season high pass against the Thunder and Herd. So, and their rushing game, like me and you both said, kind of non-existent. But they do sprinkle it in. So, I'm hoping this is a good game. Hopefully, though, it's an easy win for WKU. Hopefully, come out early. We come out on fire. And we just kind of put it to bed earlier on. And if we do hit the over, I'm not going to be mad, because, I like to gamble just a little bit on the sports. But, this is going to be a good one. And I'm excited for it. And it would be awesome to see. It's going to be awesome to see Ace Wells again, because I ain't seen him on TV or really heard about him lately. So, I'm hopefully he's doing good. Hopefully he's being a good coach, but hopefully he's not going to be a good coach this week. So with that, I'm going to say Moff, who has better than us?
Nobody, buddy. You know it.
Boy. Let's go.
Go Tops.
See y'all. Go Tops.